Hi there. Welcome, everybody. Sorry, we're a couple minutes late. We're having a couple technical difficulties here this afternoon, but I'm glad that you stuck with us. My name is Eliza Vetter, and I am the sales manager here at CPA Site Solutions. And we're going to spend just a few minutes here talking about the value of doing client follow-ups. You've survived tax season, and now it's time to think about how to maintain relationships with your clients to make sure that they come back and they give you their business again, and you hopefully grow your relationship and your business with them. So just to set the stage here, this is going to be short and sweet. Don't worry about taking notes or absorbing all the information if I talk really fast, because what's great is we're going to email this out to you so that you can review it or share it or reference it as you're making your plans. And in addition, if you have any questions, we've got sales team members available for questions, and they can respond to you almost right away. So go ahead and chat in the window, and at the end of the session, we will get questions answered for you either by ourselves or by a teammate. So here's the agenda. And you'll have to forgive us. We're having a little bit of problem with our PowerPoint, so it's a little bit wonky, but that's okay. So first, we're going to talk about just what a client retention program is, the importance of it, and then the good stuff, the 7 easy to implement tactics that are going to set you apart. And then we'll answer some questions if we have time. So the first thing is, just answering the question, what is a client retention program? Well, that's a really nice, fancy way of saying it's the structured way that you make sure that people don't forget you are their favorite person to do business with. That's it. If you've served a customer and you've done a good job and they've left your firm happy, then all you need to do to bring them back in is make sure that they can find you easily and that they can make sure that if they have somebody who asks, hey, who's that person you do business with, that they think of you. So this is really the entire heart and soul of a client retention program. It's making sure that you're top of mind, that people know how to find you, they know how to reference you. And believe it or not, as great as your experience with a client may be, and as much as you might remember their name, you'd be shocked at people's inability to recall the name and brand of somebody they've had a great experience with. So it's important for you to make sure that you keep finding positive ways to touch base with them so that you really, really, really sink into their brain. People are inundated with hundreds of thousands of brands and marketing sort of pitches every single month. And so if you don't see a client for another 9 to 10 months, there's a lot of time for the competition to seep into their headspace. A great fact we love, the companies that increase retention by as little as 5% can grow their profits by as much as 95%. And that is really the power of what you guys always talk to us about, word of mouth and maintaining relationships. So moving on. And I promise this will be a really, truly a coffee break. So the importance of the client retention program is next. So the importance is really best articulated by looking at some statistics. So you probably know this. 65% of your company's business is going to come from existing customers. They are the heart and soul and the bread, meat, potatoes of your business. When you talk to business leaders, you talk to executives, over 30% are going to say making sure that we don't lose our customers is one of the top priorities. I sit in a sales leadership role, and I can tell you that my staff is divided right down the middle between growing relationships, retaining customers, building my relationships with our over 7,500 offices that we serve. And the other half of the team is out there looking for new business, because those are equally important things that we do. It is infinitely less expensive to go ahead and upsell somebody who already trusts and loves working with you. And the reality is that we have to grow those relationships because we are really, really up against some tough numbers when it comes to new client acquisition. We can help you with that, but you want to make sure you're doing both. So the typical American business is going to be losing every year about 15% of its customer base. Many of you tell us that your clients are aging, they're moving, they're going into a new phase of life, and you need more young folks to come in and start using your services to replace those boomers who've relocated to the other side of the world. But that being said, you certainly cannot stand to lose the people who you have good relationships with who aren't moving on yet. It's really important. So if you've never thought about this before and businesses have been good, that's great, but we're a little bit more vulnerable with every passing year just because of demographics and aging. You know, when you're trying to replace that great customer who maybe just forgot, lost your business card, sort of forgot, oh, who is that person we always use? Oh, no, got a great recommendation over a cocktail, party for somebody new, losing that sale is really tough because your probability of selling to that existing customer and adding new services on to what you do for them, 70%. Your probability of selling to a new prospect, 5, 10, 20%. So that's why it's so important to really make sure that you are loving your current client base and really grooming them to use you for as many services as possible. So how do you do this? So we're going to give you 7 different ways to set yourself apart and keep people engaged. And I will tell you, we use pretty much all of these tactics, and they work well for us. So we practice what we preach, and it's pretty straightforward. So this is where I'm saying, don't worry, we're going to send this out. There's a lot of data here, but there's a couple key points we're going to go through. First thing, if you don't know when you should reach out to people, the best way to figure that out is to ask them. Every client that you have is going to have a different preference and a different set of needs based on the services you're providing for them, right? And so what's great is if you ask people how often they want to be contacted, they will tell you. And really important, ask them how they want to be contacted. I promise you that my mother needs you to call her. Do not send her an email. She will never get it. And don't text her because she probably will think it's spam. She's never going to respond to that. On the other hand, if you don't text me, I get about 4,000 emails a month. That text was your gold. The text to me is how you're going to remind me to give you a call and make an appointment. So different generations, different communication methods, and different places where we get inundated really drive our preferences. So somebody who loves working with you, who doesn't want to miss your message, is going to tell you the thing that they won't tell someone else. They will say, you know what, I don't give this out, but you know what, text me when it's tax time. Text me and I will make sure we make that appointment. Find a way to store that information too. If you've never asked your sales rep about our Office Mojo product, we've got a great productivity tool that is really designed to help you manage that, where you can schedule these things out in advance. You can text clients from your desktop, and we can really help you execute on a plan like that for a very small investment. And that's something that you can do with the help of an administrative assistant or another person in your office as well. So you don't, when I say text somebody, you don't have to do it from your personal cell phone. We don't, and you don't need to either. So the second thing that we want to talk about here is customer service satisfaction surveys. We love these, and I will tell you, don't do it right now. You just survived a really rough season. Give yourself a couple weeks. Go to the beach first, because, it can be hard to hear some of the negative feedback that you get. But the reality is somebody who respects your business enough to give you some really pointed feedback about something you could do better is giving you a gift. And so if you've never used this tool, it's something you should really consider. You want to ask really pointed questions, though. Just make sure that you are asking specific questions, and you're going to know from your business what those things are. We ask questions, very specific to, how, let's talk about the ROI of the product that we're selling you. Let's talk about the ROI in your PPC campaign. Let's talk about the ROI on your Facebook ads campaign. Let's talk about the ROI on your SEO campaign. Those very specific questions are going to be the kind of questions that allow me to figure out if my products are doing everything they can do for a client. You're going to have similar kinds of questions. So don't just ask, oh, were you happy? People are going to want to say yes. But also at the end of working with a client, it's never a bad time to say, hey, by the way, I just want to know what your experience was like here. Did somebody pick up the phone and quickly when you're trying to reach us? Was our response time good? Is there anything we can improve for you next year? How did you like your interface with how we exchange documents, et cetera? Because even just asking that question is going to make that person feel so appreciated and is going to increase the likelihood that they come back to you. So number 3, educate your clients. This is one that we hold near and dear to our heart. We spend lots and lots of time, energy, and resources making sure that our customers, and I assume most of you are already customers, and some of you may not be, have a ton of resources to figure out the best way to market yourselves to your perfect audience, no matter who that is. You're all very different. We provide you with educational tools to figure out how to do that, but we also provide you with the actual educational tools that you can then mimic that strategy with your clients. So if you're not capitalizing on that, if we already provide you with a website and you're not capitalizing on the wealth of writing that we've done for you, you should call your account advisor and say, hey, what else could I be doing with the resources that you guys provide? People really want to know that you are an expert, and they want to know that you care enough to help them out. So make sure that you are the person who appears in their inbox with valuable information on a regular basis. A perfect example is if you are knowing about a change that's happening that's going to impact a lot of your clients, be the first one to send that email out that says, hey, here's some tax law changes that are going to hit. I want to tell you everything you need to know so you can plan accordingly, because that positions you as an expert and as somebody who cares. The other way to do that is through social media. I know a lot of people find that really intimidating. I will tell you, this is the space we've gone into in the past year and a half, 2 years, really in a specific way to help you be able to handle that with very, very, very light lift. And so, we write all the content, we do all the posting so that you can be the person who cares and who informs your customers. And so when you are done with meeting with somebody, you can say, hey, don't forget to follow me on Facebook, and don't forget to take me out of your junk folder in your email, because I'm sending out good information that's going to protect you all year long. Okay, number 4. Proactively be thinking about the things that are going on with your clients. If you've got the time to really reflect, remember that you've got clients in many different stages of life and with many different concerns. You've got small business owners, you've got newly married couples, people who are retiring, people who are relocating, people who are going to become expats. You've got all these different people who you serve, and be thinking about the unique ways that you could send out pointed content that speaks to their needs. That is the kind of thing that sets you apart, and that really makes you valuable to them, because it reflects that you've been listening. And that's one of the best things that you can do. Number 5, reward your clients. This is maybe a surprise. We all love to do promos for people who are new, right? We know how hard it is to get a new customer, and so we want to just go crazy enticing them to come and become one of our really valued clients. And that's great. And I totally encourage being aggressive with your promotions when you're looking for new customers. That being said, there's nothing worse than when you've been somebody's client for like a decade and you see them doing something like that and you're like, ugh, I never got anything like that, right? It's like, oh man, I wish I could be a new customer for you. I've even had clients say things like that to me. And as a good sales manager, my response is always, well, I'm going to give you that offer because I appreciate the business you've given me for the past 1, 2, 5, 10 years. And better yet, you get ahead of that. So if somebody sends you a referral, you always send a thank you note. And it doesn't have to be expensive. Studies have shown that people really appreciate a handwritten note more than almost anything else you can do, hands down. So if you're like, oh my God, I am so busy, I couldn't send a thank you note if my life depended on it, there are thank you note writing services out there, my friend. Google it. So there is always a way. A thank you note, a very small gift, a logo pen, a magnet, these things seem simple, but those ways of saying thank you are really, really appreciated because it's really just a gesture. But don't be afraid. If somebody sends you a big client, send them some flowers, send them a gift card to their favorite lunch joint, send them a bottle of wine. And don't forget to send out promotional offers on occasion for people who are your current clients who maybe want to add additional services. So, don't forget when you're like, ooh, I've got this great idea if this person's willing to bring me this kind of business. Send that out to your current list too. You never know what business people aren't giving you yet. It's often people just don't realize that maybe you provide services that you do. Number 6, excuse me, frog in my throat. Send snail mail. So snail mail is still really effective because it's not the number one way that people are doing marketing anymore. So you have a little less competition in a mailbox. But I want to give you guys a tip. There's lots of great marketing tips on this slide, but I want to tell you what I used to do in my old life. I spent some time in my life in the real estate business and was pretty successful in that space. I was much younger, but I learned this old fashioned tip that you may already know, but it's a fantastic one. When you bring in a client, and you could start this with all new clients, or you could go back and you could start this with all your existing clients. What you do is you figure out what that person's birthday is, or if it's a couple, both the parents. And when they leave, you open up your box of birthday cards, you write happy birthday, the birthday, let's say their birthday's in December. Happy birthday, Madigan. Hope it's a great one. See you next month for our annual meeting, right? You address it, you put it in the envelope, you don't seal it, just in case you need to look in it and double check everything's okay. And you put it in a file. You just make a file of ticklers, January through December, and you put it in the December file. And you do that all year long. And the beginning of every month, you just open up that file, you look at all the cards that are in there. And this is a great thing to assign an admin for sure, but it's also a good thing to do in front of the TV when you need a mindless task. And you make those cards again for the following December. Seal them up, pop them in the mail. This year's have gone out, and next year's are already in the tickler for next year, right? Because the birthday never changes, so you just keep doing this. So every month, you just take out those cards, you write the ones for next year, you pop those ones in the mail. You would be shocked. People will call you and say, you were the only person who ever remembers my birthday. Trust me, that person will never leave you. So, number 7, and that is like the best trick. I know, I got to be honest, guys. Get social. So being on social media is so important nowadays. 58% of people are on social media every single day for a couple of hours. The way to be in that space and be a thought leader is by posting regular, solid content about things that they're going to find interesting. So not just taxes, right? Not just retirement planning, whatever. You want to make sure that you are really talking about all sorts of things related to people's financial well-being. And that's something that you can do on your own, but it's also something that we do for a very low price. And we create fantastic, engaging campaigns that are much more creative than you probably come up with trying to cram it into your schedule. But that being said, if you want to give it a whirl on your own, just set up a Facebook business page. And if you can't figure it out, give us a call. We'll help you out. And if it's overwhelming, then you just go ahead, you give us a call, and we'll help you with that content. And we will create that space where you are an expert for your client base and for anybody who refers you. And, it gives you a lot of credibility, and it's really nice when somebody else does it for you, to be honest. So important nowadays, social media is word of mouth. So for all of you who love word of mouth, this is really how you maintain that top of mind awareness and that referenceability, in your down season, right? In between things. So that's the final tip. So before we go to Q&A, I just want to let you guys know that those are really all the tools that we use here. I believe in them strongly. They've made us successful. We know they make you successful. And I mentioned a few products there. I mentioned Office Mojo, which is an appointment reminder suite productivity tool. Right now, we have a $49.99 a month promotion for that. It's $20 off the normal fee, and it has a $5 only setup. And that's the kind of thing it can be used to send out reminders, satisfaction surveys, and texts. And so that's something you could ask your AA about. We have, and we also have a promotion going on right now for anybody who's interested in social media products or layering it with Office Mojo. If you layer 2 products right now, we're giving 15% off those 2 products, and we're only charging $25 per product for setup fees. For those of you who have bought digital marketing services from us in the past, you will know that is a fantastic deal. That's the best deal of the year because this is the hardest time of year to get you guys sort of engaged with us because you're so busy serving your clients. So those deals are available for the rest of the week. And so if you're interested in some of those, now is the time to call your AA so that we can help you make the most of the offers that are available right now. And sort of, jump on those before May comes and the deals go away. So I'm going to take a look here and see if I can see any good questions. I'm not. Are they hiding from me? I don't see any questions. I'm just going to give it one more second. Just go ahead and send it in the chat and there's 2 ways to put in a question. So we're looking at both of them. So I'm just going to do one more check and see. I think we're good. Let's see here. I've got Tiffany. I just want to see if you've got any. Looks like we have no active questions. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap it up. And if you have any questions after the fact, go ahead and call that 1-800 number that you see on the screen. It's all over our website, 1-800-896-4500. Ask for the sales team. We'll get you connected with somebody who can help you research your options around any of this. Or if you have any questions from this webinar and you're like, I just wanted to ask this question, go ahead, call in, ask for me. My name's Liza. I'm the sales manager, and I am always happy to help. You guys are very engaged and very excited about the things that we do, and we love talking with you when you're ready to launch the next step of your marketing strategy. So,
Liza,
Thanks so much.
I did see questions, Liza. I did see a quick question coming.
Oh, you do? Oh, I don't see one. Hit me with it.
Oh, okay. The question is, what do you suggest to do for non-returning clients?
Oh, a non-returning client. So that's a great question. So for a non-returning client, you want to do a couple things. The first would be is try to figure out why they're not returning, and give them an excuse to come back. So it's called a win back. So if you're kind of curious about looking at win back strategies, that's the term you want to Google. So it's a really good opportunity to send out an email blast to people who did not return and just say, hey, we didn't see you this season. We just want to make sure everything we did was okay. And if not, we want to correct that. So we're curious, would you be willing to do a little survey? And frankly, people will do any survey on earth if you offer them like $10 to Starbucks, just like FYI, just any small enticement, and people generally will do that. And then I would go ahead and create a survey, you may have a sense of what happened, but make sure there's always a notes field in your survey that gives people a chance to just freeform it. But, a lot of times people don't come back because either they moved, they got married, and there's a new person in their life who had somebody else, and they went with their other person's other guy. It's often not anything catastrophic. And it's good to track those numbers over time so that you can see if you're within your sort of normal benchmarks. But what's great to do at the end of that is send them something that says hey, it says that you just chose to try something else. You tried to do it yourself. You tried to save money. We want you to come back next year. If you come back, here's a great offer. And then you send a follow-up at the time. You're not going to see them for 6 months. You schedule a follow-up email so that offer is in front of them again before they're about to make that decision.
Okay, we have another question. How would you ask for a birthday of a corporate client?
That is a really good question. So it depends on your relationship and your personality. If you don't feel comfortable doing the birthday thing because it's just too personal, you can choose another date that feels right, right? Like you could pick sort of incorporation date, right? Sort of the birth of the business is kind of a fun way to spin that. I've done things like that before. You and the other thing is you could just pick sort of a neutral date. Some people do the similar strategy I talked about, but they do it on a couple holidays. So they just figure out somebody is like, are you Christmas? Are you Hanukkah? Or do we maybe we just do New Year's? Everybody's sort of obviously celebrates some kind of turnover the leaf at New Year's, and they might just do that instead. And so if you're like, birthdays doesn't work for us, then do a New Year's message. It's pretty much going to work across the board, and you can also do that in one mass mailing, which is easier to manage if you have a really large book of business.
Okay, last question is on one of the slides we talked about Facebook and the ability for you to import client emails in Facebook. So the question is, what did you mean by import client emails in Facebook? And I believe that has to do with the ability to, when you load client emails into Facebook, and you post, it gives you the ability to, when you post messages, that it will post to their social media accounts.
Yeah, basically what we're trying to make sure you understand is that when you are working with Facebook, it changes all the time, and um, there's always new ways that you can sort of increase the likelihood that the person who sees your post on Facebook is somebody who's going to be positively responsive to it, because that's how Facebook knows they're doing a good job. Um, like Facebook doesn't want to offer a message to somebody that they don't want. They're constantly tweaking their algorithm to make sure that you're just seeing what makes sense for you. Like your Facebook world looks very different than my Facebook world. So what Facebook will allow you to do is tell, if you're working on the back end, is give it lots of information about who your clients are, so that it can deliver that message to those people, so that those are people who are most likely to actually like and follow you. Right? It's going to be a lot harder to get a new client to like and follow you, but if I see my accountant has popped up on Facebook, and I'm I'm going to be following that, because that person is the person who I want to get advice from. I don't really care about anybody else. It's going to be hard to get my attention because I've already invested in trust in that person. On the flip side, Facebook wants to have as much success at engaging with your content as possible. Facebook's success and your success are one. And so it wants you to feed the machine as much information as possible, so that it has a stronger ability to make that algorithmic match. Does that, sorry, the question was, I couldn't read
So,
it, so I just want to make
yeah,
sure
that's
that
okay. So the
answers.
follow-up
Yeah.
to it is, how does how does that happen just via email? And one of the things that Facebook does is it will match via email people's accounts, their Facebook accounts. So it actually does not target their email address. It uses their
Address.
email address as an identifier for that particular person, so that when you post your messages, it goes to that user who is on Facebook. So I
Exactly.
think that helps to clarify that for that particular question.
Yeah.
And we could
I,
definitely do follow up afterwards
I
relating
have
to
time
Facebook
for
and Facebook ads.
Yeah, and we will actually, when we send out this follow-up, Tiffany, could we send out a link to our Facebook information on the website as well?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. I think I have time for one more question, and then we have to wrap it up.
Okay, that looks to be the last question that I see
Sure.
in our chat box.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I see a lot of you stuck around for a longer Q&A session than we anticipated, so I really appreciate that. Like I said, we've got lots of salespeople available, and so if any of this has been interesting, just reach out to your account advisor and let them know you want to know more. We've at least for a few more days, a lot of folks are still, in recuperation mode. So we have good availability on our calendars. I can tell you as of May 1st, that all changes. So if you are interested in getting some feedback and having lots of good time to ask questions, this is the week to make the phone call to us. And then it gets a little bit harder to get your appointment of choice on May 1st. So I'm encouraging people to call this week if you're thinking about your marketing. Take your vacation the first week of May. So that's a wrap. Thanks so much. All right. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Liza. Bye-bye.
Take care.